As she stood in the front of her 5th grade classroom on the first day of school, she told her students a lie. Like most teachers, she looked at her children and said that she loved them all the same. However, that was impossible, because over there slumped in his seat was a little boy named Dougie Wood. Miss Govan had watched Dougie the year before and noticed that he didn't play well with other children. His clothes were way too big for him. Actually, Dougie could be a bit unpleasant. It got to the point where Miss Govan got pretty angry when she was grading his papers. She was so tired of putting an F at the top of each and every one of them. She thought he wasn't trying at all. At the school where Miss Govan taught, she was required to review each child's permanent record, and she put off Dougie's as long as she could. However, when she reviewed his file, she was in for quite a shock. Dougie's 1st grade teacher wrote, "Dougie is a bright child with a ready laugh. He does his work neatly and has good manners. He is such a joy to be around." His 2nd grade teacher wrote, "Dougie is an excellent student, well liked by his classmates, but he is troubled because his mother has cancer, and life at home is quite hard." His 3rd grade teacher wrote, "His mother's death has been hard on him. He tries to do his best, but his father doesn't show much interest, and his home life will soon affect him if some steps aren't taken real soon." Dougie's 4th grade teacher wrote, "Dougie is withdrawn and doesn't show much interest in school. He doesn't have many friends, and he sometimes sleeps in class." By now, Miss Govan realized the problem, and she was ashamed of herself. She felt even worse when her students brought her Christmas presents wrapped in beautiful ribbons and bright paper, except for Dougie's. His present was stuffed in a brown grocery bag. Miss Govan took pains to open it in the middle of the other presents, though. Some of the students started to laugh when she found an old gold bracelet with some pieces missing and half an empty bottle of perfume. But she stifled the kids' laughter when she exclaimed how pretty the bracelet was, putting it on and spraying some of the perfume on her wrist. Dougie shyly asked his teacher if he could tell her something and whispered, "Miss Govan, today you smell just like my mom used to." After the children left, she cried for an hour. On that very day, she quit teaching reading, writing, and math and worrying about tax scores. Instead, she began to teach children. Miss Govan began paying particular attention to Dougie Wood. As she worked with him, his mind began to come alive. The more she encouraged him, the faster he responded. By the end of the year, Dougie had become one of the smartest kids in her class. And despite her lie that she would love all the children the same, Dougie became one of her teacher's pets. A year later, she found a note under her door from Dougie, telling her that she was the best teacher he'd ever had in his whole life. 6 years went by before she got another note from Dougie. He sent her a graduation announcement, along with a note that said he had finished high school 3rd in his class, and she was still the best teacher he had ever had in his whole life. 4 years after that, she got another graduation announcement and a letter saying that while things had been tough at times, he'd stayed in school. He'd stuck with it and would soon graduate from college with the highest of honors. Again, he assured Miss Govan that she was still the best and favorite teacher that he'd ever had. Then 4 more years passed, and yet another letter came. After he got his bachelor's degree, he decided to go a little further. She was still the best and favorite teacher he'd had. But now, his name was a little longer. The letter was signed, Douglas Wood, M.D. The story doesn't end here. There was yet another letter that spring. Doug said he'd met this girl and was going to be getting married. He explained that his father had died a couple years ago, and he was wondering if Miss Govan might agree to sit at the wedding in the place that was usually reserved for the mother of the groom. Of course, Miss Govan did. And guess what? She wore the bracelet. You remember? The one with the gold pieces missing? Moreover, she made sure she was wearing the perfume that Doug remembered his mother wearing on their last Christmas together. After the ceremony, they hugged, and went off by themselves and sat down to chat. Dr. Wood said to Miss Govan, "Thank you for believing in me. Thank you for making me feel important and showing me that I could make a difference." Miss Govan said, with tears in her eyes, "Doug, you have it all wrong, son. You were the one who taught me that I could make a difference. I didn't know how to teach until I met you."